And, that's just me thinking
It's
like
not a
an
bad
old
idea.
special teams coach, Jerry. I always,
Right.
when I was coaching college, I always grabbed the offensive coordinator and said, please, I don't care if you don't give me the fastest guy on the offense. Give me the second fastest guy so I could work with him and get him ready to return some punts. And, we had one year we had six punt returns to touchdowns. That was an Ivy League record that year.
I'm liking your thought process, man. That's something to I'll tell you, I don't know if they're thinking that way, but that's not a bad way to get used and say, hey, man, pay a little dues, pay us back a little bit for going through this. We took some bullets for you. Now we need some help here. Help us out a little bit. All right, Dr. Football. Hey, real quick, I was going to look around the standings, but Arizona, where you're at, we talk about what a great story it's been, and top seed over there, 8-1 as they sit right now, but a big change to the way the rest of that season's going to look. Carson Palmer, people talked about, even though Stanton did a great job stepping in, there's a difference with that veteran quarterback, and literally days after Carson Palmer signs that big extension, boom, he goes down. And I don't know if you saw the stat. I mentioned it earlier in the show, that the freaky coincidence that this is the second time. When he signed his contract with Cincinnati back in the day, 10 days later, when he signed that big one, the $115 million contract, 10 days later, blew out the ACL and MCL. Same thing here. Very next game that he played after this contract extension, he blows out the ACL again. I'm telling you, if I was him, I'd be cash and carry and handshakes from here on out. But that's going to change the outlook. What are you hearing? I heard Dennis Dixon's name out there. What are they talking about in Arizona as they scramble to make sure that this doesn't throw such a great season away?
Well, you take a look when he was out earlier in the season, they didn't lose much with Drew Stanton in there.
No.
Dennis Dixon is an insurance policy right now. They need a guy who's got some experience, and he has some experience in the system, even if he doesn't have a lot of game experience. He understands the system. Stanton, however, has game experience, and that's why, they're not as concerned as they should be. They're sad because, for a change, they had a 34-year-old guy that was playing like a 28-year-old guy. And, I really didn't believe he could do it. And, the couple of games I've been to this year, he really surprised me that, he looked as well as he did. Are we disappointed that he's injured? Yeah. In fact, there was an editorial here, up here in the local paper this week, that, the person all but went and flushed the Cardinals' chances in the playoffs down the toilet because Carson Palmer's not there. And, I sent in my usual letter to the editor, which they didn't post because I work for a rival paper, so they're not going to post my letter to the sports editor. But, it said very simply that, your attitude 6 weeks ago was that, Carson Palmer was a world beater. Now that he's hurt, you're not even giving Drew Stanton a chance when Drew Stanton's been, a quality quarterback every time he's gotten the chance, which is where my Cardinal story went this week, and that's what I put up. I don't think they'll be losing all that much. Yeah, they're losing a little bit of accuracy. Stanton's got the stronger arm than Palmer right now anyway. So, Fitzgerald shouldn't have any trouble running down under those 50, 60-yard passes down the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. John Brown, too, by the way. There's another one that has come up with some big plays from time to time this season. That's an emerging speedster down there for you guys at wide receiver. But we'll see. I mean, I thought Stanton, as we said, I thought he did a good job, like you said, and we'll see because now it's going to be his chance to guide this here. 8-1, great start to the season. I was going to ask you before I let you go, looking around at things, we've talked about the North a lot. Clearly the best division in football. Every team 600 or higher in the division. South, probably the opposite. The worst is you got the first place team sub 500 there, and it only gets worse from there. But what are your biggest? Give me your biggest surprise and biggest disappointment team in the first half of the season.
Well, obviously, I'm going to go back to my roots. I'm pretty disappointed about the Giants. I expected them to do a little better than they're doing. I didn't expect them to set the world on fire. I thought they would win between 7 and 9 games. Now they'll be lucky to win 6 games. So that's a disappointment. But my biggest surprise right now is how great the Eagles look in that division, the NFC East. And, you brought up the Cardinals again and John Brown, somebody said to me on Sunday, this guy is a sleeper. I said, excuse me, I'm a scout. There's no such thing anymore as a sleeper. There's undrafteds, and there's guys who are playing over their potential. But there's no such thing as a sleeper anymore, because this is a science. And at this point, I've been doing this 30 years. We've got it down to a science about how good these guys are. Yeah, you still make a mistake every so often, or there's a guy who you think, that for every 99 success stories in the NFL, there's always a Jamarcus Russell somewhere. And, speaking of that, last night's game, if Cam Newton is not careful, he's going to be another Jamarcus Russell himself the way he's going, because that was just horrible last night.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I'll tell you, John McMullen tweeted out after that second, by the way, garbage time Benjamin touchdown there. He goes, if that doesn't prove that stats are completely worthless in football, I don't know what does, because you'll sit there and look and go, oh, yeah, man, Kelvin Benjamin did. No, man, you guys were down 45. The other team was practically off the field before you guys were able to do anything. How about that? Yay, we're talking about Eagles defense, because everybody talks about what Chip Kelly does with the offense. How about that Eagles defense? I was checking the fantasy football, our league last was on the other team, and it was my son. Jerry goes, hey, go check my team. He's like, I was leading by 5. Let's see what the Eagles defense has done. That was the only team left on the other side. 38 points later from the Eagles defense or whatever it was. They had a couple of picks, a pick 6, a couple of fumble recoveries, some sacks. They had everything a defense could have last night, and they went to work. But yeah, man, that Eagles defense, they were pretty ruthless last night for sure.
Yeah, everybody, all the Cowboy fans are talking how great they are. They got to get past Philly first, and I don't think
that's
going
to be a good one.
I just think Chip Kelly is so much better a coach than Jason Garrett that there's no way when they meet in the playoffs that the Eagles are losing that game.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Dr. Football Bill Chachkes in the house. Hey, before we catch up next Tuesday, the Browns and the Texans have a little matter of a game. And, you got, of course, we talked offensively about the Texans. Defensively, you've got J.J. Watt. You've got a guy who was, taken up in the draft. They got a lot of guys here in the Texans on the defensive side of the ball, too. What do you think happens by the time we're going to preview the game later on this week and get into it in and out? But what do you think by the time we're talking? Do the Browns wrap up their 10 games without Josh Gordon at 6-4 or 7-3?
I think it's a good possibility they could have a 7th win in the column. The Texans, while they're still a very powerful team, they've been having some difficulty this year. They've had some injuries. They got started a little late. By the time they got some guys back from preseason injuries, they were already into September before these guys started to get geared up. I think it's possible that there's a game plan on Pettine's clipboard that keeps the Browns in the game. I'm not going to cash it into the Texans so quick, and I don't think Browns fans should either. I think everybody should keep their heads on a swivel and their eyes up. And stats don't always mean everything in football. Obviously, if the Panthers can hold on to the ball for 38 minutes and still get blown out, But I do believe that time of possession does matter to a certain degree, and if the Browns can maintain time of possession and no stupid turnovers and no major penalties, I say that when we get into the fourth quarter, they're right up there with the Texans. Because if Arian Foster can get stopped a couple of times in the first half, he doesn't always have the motor once he's been beat up a little bit. And you really need to beat him up right away. Don't give him the easy 3 or 4 yards. Meet him at the line of scrimmage, smack him down, make him worn down, get him worn down, and then he won't be the factor in the second half that he is when his legs are fresh.
Absolutely. You've got, of course, the tale of two seasons here early on for the Texans in the first half. They won 3 of their first 4 to start things off, and the one loss there was to the Giants before their season really fell off. But they've now lost 3 of their last 4 and 5 of their last 7, if you will care to look at it in that framing as well, with their only victories in that stretch being Buffalo and Tennessee, while they lost to the Giants, the Dallas Cowboys, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, and Philly. A tough level of competition. Keep that in mind when you talk about losing 5 of those 7 games. That's a tough stretch for them to go through there as well. Offensively, I expect very similar to the Browns. 2 teams that are going to try to beat the other team up, running the ball a lot. Houston is top 5 in the league in rushing yards, as we've mentioned before. Really, to me, their weakness is on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary. Teams are passing for nearly 300 yards a game against them and running for nearly 120. So defensively, that's been their problem, and the Browns are going to have to be on point on offense. And the one thing I worry about is J.J. Watt jumping 27 feet in the air and intercepting a couple of Brian Hoyer passes at the line. I worry about that. But, again, defensively, I think a different question than offensively. Offensively, Houston's going to have the rushing attack to worry about. But I agree. I think the Browns can, and I think they do, because I think the crowd is what's going to put this over the top. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a grinded out, run the ball, defensive struggle. But this is the first time for the Cleveland Browns crowd to see the Browns in person since they went to Cincinnati and won that game. And I think that the stadium's already been rocking all season long. It's going to be at a fever pitch this weekend. Loudest it's ever been since '99, I have no doubt. And I think that's enough to take it over the top.
And, the last thing I'll throw in before we get out of here, you saw Miles Austin the other night, flashes of what he used to do with the Cowboys. And he is because of his size, he is a great inside route runner. Not that he can't run the outside routes, but he's so much better, in the slot and over the middle. And that's really where, Houston's weakness is. They have to work those inside, the safety inside, and the linebacker that drops deep. The guy to do that is Austin. Let him run down 7, 8, 9 yards downfield and make a cut and get the ball to him, because he's going to open up the game, the deep passing game and the running game, by taking care of the short in the middle.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Miles Austin is nothing mind-blowing, but he's not only showed that he's still got some gas in the tank, but every single game this season, there's been at least 1 or 2 catches from Miles Austin that you go for the game. He may have only had 1 catch, but it will be the one key catch that you need, whether it's a 3rd down to run out the clock at the end of the game, whether to continue the drive. He's there for it. I'm telling you, that's an number of catches and number of yards. Thank you so much, as always, every Tuesday, right here on The Fix, talking Browns, talking NFL, and next week we'll continue what happens with the Browns and the Texans and the slate of the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, and really quick, let's remember our veterans today.
Absolutely.
And I got from everybody, me being a veteran as well, but let's remember our veterans today, very important, and that's why we have Salute to Service Month in the NFL. J-Rock, I'm going to get out of here, and you guys in the chat room, you behave yourselves, all right? And,
My man, Dr. Football. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to you two as well. My man, Dr. Football, Bill Chachkes, here with us every Tuesday on the show. You guys can tweet with him at AskDrFootball anytime, day or night. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, final segment of The Fix. Cavs weren't the only ones playing some hoops last night. We will talk about that when we come back. Vikings kick things off. We'll preview tomorrow's show. We've got a big slate coming up tomorrow. Busiest Wednesday we've had in a while. We got 4 guests coming up here tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk about that, wrap things up when we come back. Hey, I'll open up the phones. If anybody wants to get in, last segment of the show, 216-539-7535. Otherwise, come right back with us for The Fix. Final segment up next.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Throwing you the best sports commentary in town. The Sports Fix.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship.